Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our regular weekly podcast, And Knowledge Empowers. As always, with you is me, Kate. 안녕하세요. Then we have Baruch.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we have Collage.
Dobre ráno, good morning, everyone.
It's the lost guy. He came back. And then we have a guest today, the second time, Peter. Peter, hello.
That's me. Hello. Hiya.
Collage, stage is yours. Tell us 3 fun facts, or just facts.
We will see. The first one is just recent that bumblebees can actually play. They've bumblebees, like the bees which go from flower to flower, and they've put them between the hive and the external part where they actually harvest the honey or like sweets, sugars and stuff like that. They've put extra bypass so they could go directly to eat some nicey, delicious food, or they could go away from the food and have a play. So they've put the balls there. And they observed that the bumblebee intentionally went to the balls and played with them. So they rolled around the ball and played around it. So check out the links. We will be posting them in the YouTube video. It's really, really cute. So bumblebees can play. Then it comes.
I've seen it on Instagram though. Like they play.
Oh, that's cool.
Peter is raising his hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that the last session I told you that from the emotions that we know, play is actually an emotion?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It is known to like all the animals. So that's why you can see this in animals as well. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why there was a question whether insect can actually feel. They have feelings, whether they do have or not, since they can play.
I don't care. I don't care if they have feelings. If there is bloody mosquito, the first thing I do is like, there you go.
Then you have feelings when you splash it on the white wall and there is red stain.
You bet, especially if you freshly painted your flat. Mwah. Number two, we've been talking a bit about the burnout in the previous podcast, and Microsoft released a study they've done. It was about the stress and breaks during the meetings. So what they observed that through fMRIs, the brains can show that people who didn't take breaks were less focused and more stressed from meetings to meetings. So their brains actually showed that they are really stressed when it comes to that, and the focus rates drop. When it comes to those people who took breaks between the meetings, their scans showed much more relaxed state, and they had better performance when it comes to the focus. So again, we'll be putting this into the links below. Check it out. But it was about the scans for 200 people, so it's not a huge amount of people when it comes to that, but it seems like a good qualitative study. So check it out and think about your breaks during the day. That's why I was always jealous of the smokers back in our days, because they were forced to take breaks, right? And they always were way more relaxed than me, and I was like, damn, maybe I should start smoking.
And better informed. Like.
And yeah, they were way better informed. All the gossips, everything. Guys, do not start smoking. Take breaks. Number 3.
And number 3 is about pine trees and the pine nuts. You know what I'm talking about?
Pine cones?
No, pine nuts. The nuts from
pine nuts. Yeah. From the cones, basically, yes. So it's all connected. But the thing is, and this is the story from 2017, which I mentioned before, is that it's a question how to pick them up, because, pine trees are pretty tall and the cones are at the top. So you need to climb there. The thing is, the interesting thing is about how they collect them in China at the border with North Korea, is that they use helium/hydrogen balloons to lift themselves up and actually then pick the cones for the nuts. So we have this method where they put themselves into this really, really sort of a dangerous situation where you have all the hydrogen around yourself, and it it happened several times that, the balloon actually got blown away or, got lost or bursted or something like that. So people got lost also.
Suddenly they were in South Korea. Hello, freedom!
Yeah, the top, the north, where it's picked, it's pretty steep and hilly. So yeah, sometimes it's not even possible to find a missing person. Again, we'll put the whole article below so that you can read the whole story.
That's just
it's nuts. That's what you did there.
They probably didn't have many smokers while they were picking the nuts now, I believe.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. If they did, they are not among us anymore.
Kaboom!
Darwin solved it for us.
Okay, so last time we talked about regulating and calibrating emotions, and we were focusing on a specific situation where you are very, very stressed. But this time we'll focus on anger. And we have Peter here who will help us to decode anger. And I have a situation for you, Peter. So we have I hope it's not that common, but it happens.
It's going to be the manager. I know it.
Yes, it's going to be a manager. You are right. So imagine you work very hard during a whole year and you have a team of great people, but you are the best one, you are trying the hardest. And manager calls you into a meeting room. You're kind of excited, it's time for raising salaries. You already know some of your team members got the good news. And when manager starts talking, he starts saying this year I wish you tried harder, and maybe next year we'll talk about some salary raise, etc. And your blood is starting to boil because you earned it. There are some people in team who weren't trying really hard at all. They just had good relationship with your manager and they got the raise. So you storm out of the meeting room, or even worse, you say something terrible to your manager, which is not ideal, of course. So I'm sure this happened, fortunately not to me, but we have situations like these. It doesn't need to be salary raise, it could be something else. But Peter, I want to ask you, what would you do, or why we even feel like this during such a situation? Is there anything we could do to control this?
Absolutely. But let me first start from the very beginning. Since I focus primarily on calibrating the emotion, it is very natural this would occur. However, anger is a very, very specific emotion in the portfolio of all the ones that we know. And the reason is that I believe that anger is actually an evolutional fragment. It makes no sense given our current functioning of our daily life society, because to explain what anger is so that we can actually change how we react to anger, it all boils down to what role it has. As I said before, every single emotion is there to protect us, to help us survive. And anger is actually the one that is best explained when you think about a pack of wolves, because every single pack needs a leader. And most of the time, when wolves believe they are the most suited to be the leader, they would challenge the alpha, they would challenge the leader and fight them. However, there is a problem involved, because this is when the anger emotion kicks in. Because when you believe that the leader is not fit to be the good leader, and that's actually most of the time where you would see the anger, when you believe that the leader is not taking you where he should be, or your expectations were completely different, you would get angry. And anger is there to prepare you for physical, not fight, but display of physical prowess. because wolves know that if they actually fight when challenged, it would take a lot of their health down, it would take a lot of their energy down, and if they actually fight, any single weakling not suitable to be the leader would be able to just come in after the fight, kick both of their butts, and become the new leader, even though he is not suited to be the one. So anger is just there so that we would show our teeth, show our fangs, and indicate we are able to fight without the fight itself. So therefore, if this is the case, it could be actually, it would make sense, because there might be, that it might sound there are overlaps between these two situations. There is a manager, and we believe he's not suited to be the one because he's not able to recognize his employees or her employees' efforts. So therefore, we display anger, that we know better because we have more information. That's why we get angry. But in the current situation, it makes very little sense if you think about it, because leadership is very, very, it's almost never displayed through physical prowess. It's almost never through a fight. It's mostly about emotions. It's about control. It's about understanding. It's about having a perspective. And that's very little to do with anger. That's why anger is often disregarded as negative in not only in workplace, but almost everywhere. So now that we know what anger is and what role it has, let me answer your other part of the question. What should we do about it? Well, the first part about it is we are conscious creatures. That's excellent, because we can force ourselves not to do anything. We can grit our teeth and just say nothing, and then just ask a manager to take a small break. We would go to the gym, hit some sacks or something, do a little boxing to get all the emotion out, because it's very important to get the emotion out. If we don't, it actually has a negative health impact. Like, people can actually, I have seen cases so severe, people were unable to move their arms. They would get paralyzed if emotions get suppressed way too much. So it's always important to get those emotions out, but be aware why and where to express those emotions. It might not be beneficial to us to do it at a meeting, because we would not only not be promoted, we would actually get fired, and that's not helpful to us, which we don't want. We would like to avoid this, so it's better to calibrate it. And yes, so if we are in that stage that we don't know how to calibrate it yet, because it's a complicated topic, but we can train towards it. Like we mentioned before, we can think about it consciously, and when we know that we are angry, we know that we are angry during these times, so it's a good thing to note, and we just express it elsewhere, somewhere where it isn't a detriment to us. So we go to the gym or something, or we lock ourselves in the toilet and shout really hard, where people have no idea who it was shouting. And if we do this, we will naturally start progressing towards a change, because we don't want this to happen. And it's connected to a little bit of pain. Like, we don't want this to happen, so it's a discomfort, it's a little bit of pain. It will drive us towards the change of not reacting in an angry fashion. If we do this quite often, we would generally like to get to a state we wouldn't get angry at all, because we understand that it might just have been a mistake. The manager probably just didn't know. It's very possible. Sometimes there's always things we do not know. Maybe it was the manager who didn't know. Maybe there was an ulterior motive. And if there is an emotion much more suitable than anger, and that is curiosity. Why did it happen? Etc., etc. So the first step, I would say, is just vent the anger out elsewhere. And when we see the potential for triggering a different emotion, we can start asking questions. That's basically the step I would take. Those are the steps that I would take.
And Baruch, do you want a solution what the employee should do in this case, or not? Not now.
The solution is shouting, right? At the manager.
Yes, at the toilet.
Shouting, no, it's smacking. It's like, what?
Even better, even better.
Okay, thank you guys. You are so helpful.
Welcome, you're welcome.
Peter, I might be slightly disagreeing with you here. I basically agree that displaying the anger, the energy that the anger creates some sort of tension within our bodies that we need to express it somehow, etc., etc. But I would not go in a way that not let the other people not know that I'm angry, or to try to let the anger disappear. And the thing is that what I'm looking here is from the perspective of the psychological perspective of the radical candor, from cognitive behavioral therapies and stuff like that, where expressing the anger in a meaningful way is beneficial, because in this case, if you displace the anger, you leave the room, you don't say anything, your manager has no clue what just happened. And this is not just about the manager, but about your spouses, about your families, that you might be angry because you got hurt. And you are angry, which is a natural reaction, like we talked to about it before, that it could be a reaction towards our boundaries, our values, that there is something below which got attacked and we are trying to protect it. So in this sense, I wouldn't go just why and where to express the anger, but also how. And anger can be explained or expressed in a really meaningful way directly at the spot to the manager or to the person who got us angry. That, like, you've said this, and it means for me this, and this is how it makes me feel. I'm not sure what you think about it.
You said it definitely correctly, and you raise a good point. I probably didn't explain it in detail. I do believe I mentioned that in half an hour. So I thought about giving the time to explain the situation and be present at the meeting. So that's very true. I'm very glad that you raised it up, because I didn't explain it sufficiently. And yes, explaining emotions to people around us is very important, because I have seen a drastic change in emotional intelligence and empathy, meaning that people are not really able to recognize emotions anymore. And I don't know why that is. To me, it's very peculiar, because we're still interacting with each other daily, and yet people are unable to see through what the other people is going. And I don't know why that is. So explaining that we actually feel anger is very good. However, the immediate reaction of anger is display of physical prowess, which would lead us to stand up, to expand our shoulders, and to display to our manager that we are able to attack them and probably win. And that's not beneficial. So if
the how way needs to be course corrected.
Yes. The problem is that if you allow this to happen, you are in a big problem. Even police might raid in. That's something that we do not want. If you explain to a manager calmly, you are angry, you're not displaying anger. You are just talking about feeling it, and you are actually displaying control. If you talk to your manager about being angry, you're displaying control. If you stand up and clench your fists, that's when you're displaying anger. If you're talking about anger, you're displaying control. Yes.
I'm not sure if you can feel the anger and not display the anger.
Some people can. I have a story to tell. Mm-hmm. There was one time when manager called me in a meeting room. The reason why the manager called me is because another manager tried to recruit me behind his back. So, and this manager, my manager was very cool, mellow guy, like someone you wish to have as a manager, right? But I never seen him angry, and I didn't see him angry also at that time in the meeting room. I didn't know what's going on until he said what's going on. He sat in a chair, he looked at me. I know this manager tried to recruit you. I said, yes, that's correct. And then he said, I am so angry right now. I looked at him like he doesn't look angry to me at all. I mean, maybe a little bit, very little, but not
A
your
psychopath.
typical. No, I think he was just, what happened is what Peter said. He just trained so often controlling this emotion in a way that like he knew to display it as little as possible.
And it wasn't the only manager that we know who is really capable to do this. We know one more, at least one more. And until we as his employees start sharing some very peculiar nuances, we could never read him. His poker face, he maintained his emotions so well. And it was like a blunt, like he was like no emotions. But then as we talk, I remember when we all met somewhere, we went on a beer and we were from all over the world. And we started sharing these like, but have you realized his neck gets red? His neck gets red? What? When? How? And then we started sharing these nuances so we could read him. And I remember that every time then afterwards we went into one-on-one with him, we were literally focusing on these nuances. And then we start reading him and he was like, how do you know? And it really helped because it's very hard for us if you, like Peter said, that he can see people can't read people's emotions anymore. And I'm a person, I want to know your emotions so then I can apply the best solution. But if someone really has like a poker face, is capable to hold it, then I don't know what to do. Which solution is the right one that I should now offer or open up. So it really helped me when we shared these nuances on this peculiar manager that suddenly I knew how to communicate with him. And he was so shocked, like, what is this? That suddenly all of his employees knew how to communicate with him. That was hilarious. I loved it. But it really helps because then I know what kind of question I need to ask.
Definitely. There is one very important piece of information that I would like to add, and that's that the very same way that you can learn, that you can train yourself to see and to understand other people's emotions, I'm not sure if that was the case, but people can fake emotions as well. Because if they know that displaying anger is what helps them to get their point across or to help them to motivate their employees, be it positively or negatively, they can actually just come towards you and tell you that they are angry because you don't want them to be angry. So you would do what they would like you to do. And that's possible as well. I would say if you really know what to look for, it's 99% impossible to lie with emotions, because if you feel the emotions, there are so-called micro expressions that are almost impossible to hide. But it's very, very, very hard to train and see and understand. So if you look for cues, like you said, Katka, yes, that's what you should definitely always go for. Some people, they have a tick. For example, one of their muscles, like at the corner of their mouth, would just get stern for a brief second, and that's it. And that's how you know that the emotion was there. And everything else could just be poker face, posture could be perfect, but there are always things that you cannot like 100% hide your emotion. But it can be controlled and managed so you wouldn't just full blown up, just kill somebody in the meeting room, even if you would like to. All right, everybody. I think that we're heading towards the end. And I think that if you would like to learn more about emotions and see them from a different perspective, I believe I can recommend you an interesting research by Jaak Panksepp. And he has found that we have emotions as living creatures that are probably a little bit different from the ones that we know, including seeking, care, or play. Because yes, these are supposedly emotions as well. So if you are interested in how these work, we will definitely give you a link to an article like this somewhere below.
With that said, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like us, leave us a comment. And with that, 수고하셨습니다.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
See you. Bye-bye.
This podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and this is not their official channel representing the company.